It's been 1 week since the COVID alert contract tracing app launched here in Ontario, so we're taking a pulse check on how it seems to be working so far and what comes next in using it to curb the spread of the virus. For more, we're joined this morning by Emily Situ, Assistant Professor at the University of Toronto's Institute of Health Policy Management and Evaluation. Emily, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it. So as I mentioned, 1 week since it was launched, about 1.3 million people are using it here in the province. Now, it hasn't been rolled out nationally, but if we look at that, we're rolling at about 4% of the population. How many people need to sign on to this app for it to actually have an effect?
So in general, the numbers and target numbers around the world for these type of apps has been around 50 to 80%. However, no country really has hit anywhere near that type of numbers using a voluntary approach that we're doing in Canada. But I think what's important to really remember is that it could have a big impact even with much smaller percentages of people downloading it, especially if these people are in the same kind of circle, social circle, so that they're kind of meeting together.
And when it comes to, what do you think perhaps could be some of the reasons we're not looking at 5, 10, 15 million people signed on to this thing yet here in the province? There's some concerns around privacy, though. Do you think that this has been, it's kind of a moot point, considering that it's using Bluetooth technology? It's your phone just talking to another phone if you and I pass in the street and one of us have COVID-19. Or have tested positive.
Absolutely. So I think there's been a lot of concern around privacy, but I think a lot of that has been addressed. And so the app really is not finding where you are. They don't have information about you. It's actually quite a neat system where the information is kind of random numbers that are being kind of swapped between phones. So I think that, the privacy concerns, really, if you kind of look into it, has been really well addressed. And even the federal and Ontario privacy commissioners, and that's their job, is to look at people's privacy, have endorsed the app at this point. So I think it really is quite a safe app, and there's very, very low risk of privacy breaches from it.
We're seeing lots of cases in younger individuals and lots of millennials, even younger than that. How important could the contact tracing app be when we open up our schools and things, get rolling again in September?
Yeah, exactly. So I think, with the younger people being the most people getting the new cases of coronavirus, that in particular, this type of app is really suitable for them, right? And so these are the people who are kind of going out and socializing together. They're younger. They probably are carrying around their smartphone wherever they go. So I think this is where we could see a real impact of the COVID Alert app. Certainly, high school students, again, a lot of them have smartphones. If they release the ban of using phones or having phones in classrooms, certainly this could have an impact as well.
As we get set to roll out this app, across the country, you're a healthcare technologies researcher. Do you see improvements that could be made, though, for the app as we really try to use this as a big tool to fight against COVID-19?
Yeah, so the major criticism that has been happening is that the app only works on newer phones. So the phone has to be around, at most 5 years old. And so we know that, 10 to 20% of people have older phones. So this is a concern for a lot of people, especially because people who have older phones are probably the most vulnerable and underserved population. So you're looking at the elderly, people who have lower incomes, racialized people. So this has been a huge criticism of that. But as I said, still with the people who can download it, if they do, this could have impact. And again, stopping the spread or reducing the spread of the virus benefits everybody. So I think it's important that we keep that in mind.
We've heard how technology has been used overseas in the fight against COVID. What are some of the success stories you've seen with technology and apps like this in other countries around the world?
Right. So again, the voluntary types of approaches haven't reached those sort of numbers. But again, it's about the messaging around how safe it is, the endorsement by the government, really kind of like understanding the benefits that this possibly could have. And I think that's one of the main motivators of people downloading it. So the countries that you've seen that have done a pretty good job, such as Ireland, Germany, they've been doing a very good job of promoting the privacy kind of measures that are within the app, and as well as kind of really just endorsing and having the population understand the importance that this could have.
Emily, thanks so much for sharing your thoughts this morning and joining us on BT. We really appreciate it. Now remember, Toronto, it's your turn to sound off on this topic. Have you downloaded the contact tracing app? Do you have concerns surrounding it? We want to hear from you. The number to call in is 1-866-267-3797 or email us at feedbackbreakfasttelevision.ca.